Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my breastfeeding journey. So I'm going to talk to you guys about our whole breastfeeding journey. She's not going to be in this video because she is napping. So if you see me looking over here, it's because I'm watching her. We have had a pretty bumpy journey, to say the least. It's been very up and down, kind of all over the place. It started out really rough and we've hit ups and downs, highs and lows all throughout her 14 and a half months of being here. I'm going to tell you guys our story, and now that she is 14 months old, how we've weaned her to just one feeding right before bedtime, and how I'm planning on weaning from that last feeding. If I sound sniffly and I keep rubbing and messing with my nose, my allergies are killing me. I cannot stand it. I don't know what's happening, but all morning I've been sneezing, itchy, runny nose, driving me crazy. Okay, so for those of you who are new, my name is Brittani and I have a 14-month-old named Gracelyn. She is my first baby and only so far. She has been such a light in my life. I love her so much. Being a mom has been the biggest blessing of my life. I just love it so much. Obviously, I have my really hard days, just like any other mom, but we get through, and her dad, my husband, is amazing, and he is always there to kind of take that weight off of me when I'm having my really hard moments. So I'm very, very thankful for him. Okay, so she was born May 19th, 2017 at 5:48 in the morning. When we were in the hospital, after I had her, she would not latch. She was not doing good with breastfeeding. I had lactation nurse after lactation nurse come in and try to help. Nothing was helping, and I was panicked. She would eat some of the colostrum, but it was more of me like kind of forcing it into her mouth, or like squeezing it into her mouth, putting it on my finger and putting it in her mouth. And being a first-time mom, I didn't do my research about breastfeeding, and if a baby is capable of being okay without any formula or full-on breastfeeding that first day or two of life until they get into the swing of it. So I was panicked because she was not latching and getting what I thought was the right amount of nutrients. Her nurses in the hospital were kind of making me panic as well. They were like, okay, she's not doing this properly. She's probably not getting the nutrition that she needs. If she's not latching in the next however long, then we're gonna have to go in and formula feed her. So I did bring my own formula to the hospital just in case she was not going to breastfeed, or whatever the reason may be. I did not want the formula that they have in there. And if that is all that you can use for your baby, then that is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with that. Whatever is working for you, that's awesome. I just knew going in that I wanted a healthier option for her if breastfeeding wasn't going to be an option for us. And I went in with the mindset of, I want to breastfeed, but if it just doesn't work out, that's okay. I'm not gonna be upset about it. It is what it is. And we will just bottle feed. So I didn't really have like a strict like mindset on the whole thing. It was gonna be what it was gonna be. So then once she came out and all this was going on, I panicked. I gave her a bottle in the hospital, maybe even 2 bottles in the hospital. And then it became my personal mission to want to breastfeed my baby. I didn't want to bottle feed her, I decided. And let me just specify that I 100% believe that fed is best. I think that there's so many situations where babies cannot breastfeed, or the mom isn't producing, situations like that. I get it, I understand, and no judgment at all. I just really, really wanted to breastfeed my baby. I wanted that bond, that connection, and I wanted those nutrients for my baby. And I had heard that it, can help with postpartum depression, weight loss, all of those different things. And it just became my personal mission to make it work. So fast forward to like day 2 in the hospital, I had a lactation nurse come in who was really helpful to me, but it still wasn't enough. Like, we would latch and then she wouldn't, and it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad, you guys. I was in tears. My nipples were cracked, they were bleeding. It just was awful. And I almost gave up so many times and just did the bottle. I never did get mastitis or any like clogged ducts or anything like that, so that was awesome, thank God. But it was just a mess, like a constant painful mess. So our supposed last day in the hospital, one of the nurses came in and was like, she's not latching properly and you really seem like you want this to work, so we're gonna keep you 1 extra day. We have this lactation consultant who's here at night, and I believe that she will be able to help you. So we stayed a whole extra day than we technically were going to in the hospital, and this lactation nurse came in and she was amazing. She got her to latch. She was very like get things done type of woman, and she was not here to play. So she got her latched, and all throughout that night, the next morning, we did really well, just me and her. She latched every time she wanted to eat. It was going smoothly. We would have little ups and downs, but overall I felt good. I felt comfortable and confident. And then we left the hospital. And she was having a hard time latching again, and I couldn't get her to do it, the way I was taught to. My husband would have to help latch her, hold me up, the whole thing. It was really awkward for me. And then add on the fact that my nipples are cracked and bleeding and in so much pain because they don't know what's happening to them. She's not latching correctly. So then we get through a couple weeks, and I decided the pain wasn't going away. I've tried nipple creams. I've tried the little cold pads that you freeze. Nothing is helping the pain of my nipples. And I decided that I was going to get a nipple shield. I got a couple different ones, found the one that worked best for us, which is the Medela brand. And that thing was a lifesaver, you guys. It was a lifesaver. But it was really frustrating because it would slip off when she was eating, and it was really awkward. But it made her latch, and that was what was important to me. It made her get fed, and that was what I cared about. So I dealt with the pain in the buttness of it, for lack of better terminology. And it really ended up being a lifesaver for me, even though it was a pain in the butt. It helped with the nipple pain, but then every time I would try to get her to latch to me, it was a nightmare. It hurt again. She wouldn't latch properly. So I had a few friends actually, who recommended a specific lactation consultant that will come to your home. And this girl saved my life, my breastfeeding journey, and she was amazing. She came over to my house and watched our breastfeeding routine, I guess, and she helped with the latch a lot. And so there were days where like I would feel comfortable taking the shield off and back and forth, so on and so on. And she helped me realize that my pump accessories were not exactly what I needed. I needed smaller smaller flanges that come on the breastfeeding pumps, or that come on the breast pumps themselves, because depending on your nipple size, like it'll stretch your nipple and cause a lot of irritation and discomfort. So I was using a way too big of size, and you have to actually order them online. And then I decided to get a whole different breast pump and all that, but that's a whole nother story. But she just helped me realize these things that I was doing wrong and things that I needed to change throughout every little piece of it, whether it be the pump, the actual baby, all of that. And she checked Gracie's mouth and diagnosed her with a lip tie and a tongue tie. Her lip tie was way worse than her tongue. Once we got that established, that was the issue, we immediately took her to a specialist and had it lasered. So they lasered her lip and her tongue tie. And for 6 weeks, I had to do little massage exercises under her tongue, under her lip, on her gums, and then like around her mouth, and like for her gag reflex and all of that. So, because she had a really, really low tolerance for like her gag reflex. So I forgot to mention something. Around week 3 of having her home and breastfeeding and all that, before I bought the nipple shields, I was bottle feeding her a lot. I was pumping and mixing formula and pumped breast milk together, and I did that for a couple weeks. But I was still breastfeeding her throughout the day in between, but it was just too much for me to do it all the time. So that way people could help me. I had my cousin there helping babysit, my aunt, Wilson. That way I could have a break and get away. So formula really helped me when it came to that. But then I hit a point, because she was having a lot of stomach issues and going to the bathroom issues, which she did for like the first 4 months of her life, actually. So what happened is I ended up hitting a point where I was like, I'm done. I just want to breastfeed. I don't want to use formula. And I wanted to see if the formula was bothering her stomach, if it was my breast milk that was bothering her stomach, and so on and so on, which we never did figure out. She just grew out of it. She's fine now. It was probably an insensitivity to something that we just never took the time to figure out. But she did grow out of it. So I didn't want to cut it from my diet, because even if she was sensitive to it, I didn't want it to affect her later on where she was always sensitive to it. Because I feel like when you give them things over and over and over again, it helps decrease the sensitivity or allergy to it. So we got her lip tie. We were doing the exercises. I was taking turns using the nipple shield and not using the nipple shield, because I wanted to train her without it, but she was so used to it and comfortable with it that she would cry and cry and cry when I would take it off. So she would sometimes cry when I didn't have it, and sometimes she would cry when I did have it on. So we were just taking turns figuring out what was more comfortable, what worked for her. We eventually got to a point of not needing it at all, and it was life-changing. Also, the people who did her lip and tongue tie, they gave me specific nipple shields that were more real. They were like more moldy, bendable, smaller, formed to your nipple better. So it was an easier transition from using the nipple guards to nothing at all, because it was more real for her. It felt like she was just on my nipple all the time. So those were amazing. They are expensive, and you do have to order them, I think, from out of state. I don't even think that, or out of country. I don't think the US carries them. I think she orders them from like Canada or a different country. But they were amazing, and I kept them. I have them still, just in case if we do have another baby, we have the same issues or anything like that, I will have them. At about 4.5 months, we had a breastfeeding regression. It isn't a regression, but for lack of me not knowing the word. That's what I'm gonna call it. She was teething and she just decided that, no, I don't want to breastfeed. My teeth hurt, my mouth hurts. I'm not doing it. So we went a whole week of me like constantly offering, and then I was pumping, giving her a bottle. There was no formula involved still. I was just pumping everything, giving her bottles, and then offering the breast to her whenever. And sometimes she would take it, sometimes she wouldn't. That lasted about a week, and then we smoothly went back to breastfeeding. I think that was the last time she did something like that where she was just opposed to the breast at all. We used Dr. Brown bottles and we used the preemie nipples until she was off of bottles completely, which was about a year old. And that way it just kept her like the slow flow, all of that. That way she knew she had to work for it. And there's like techniques you can use so they don't get dependent on the flow of the bottle. When you have people like babysitting or whatever, you can teach them little tips and tricks on how to properly feed your baby a bottle. That way they're not getting too confused and they're wanting the bottle over the nipple because they're getting instant gratification with the bottle. So we implemented all of those different little techniques. I had different bottles, but our favorites were the Dr. Brown's, and those were her favorite for sure. And they were the ones that had the slow flow nipples, which were the 0-month preemie nipples. And then, let's see. Fast forward all of these months, we've done great from like 5 months on. She did really good with breastfeeding. No more nipple shields, no more anything. No regressions, nothing. She's just been really great about it. So we'll fast forward to about 10 months. She starts biting. It's really uncomfortable. I'm getting really frustrated, and it is really hurting our bond and our breastfeeding relationship. I stuck through it. I dealt with it. I didn't want to, but I knew I was just 2 months away from being able to introduce regular milk and not have to formula feed her again. So I just kept seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, we've got 2 more months. And I was dead set on ending breastfeeding at 1 year old. I was done. And we got to 11 months, and then she started biting really, really bad. She took an actual chunk out of my nipple. I was bleeding all the time. It hurt. I was so scared I was going to get infected. Took her to the doctor for something, but I asked her doctor about the biting and all that, and we were at about 11 and a half months old, and he said, look, she's going to be 1 in 2 weeks. Start introducing milk to her. If she's eating things like cheeses, yogurts, all that stuff, she's going to be fine. So I introduced her to milk around 11 and a half months old because I wanted to start transitioning from breastfeeding. So I started cutting out. We were breastfeeding 6 times a day. I have her on a very timely schedule, and we were doing it 6 times a day. So around 11 and a half months, I cut out, I think, 1 or 2 of the middle of the day feeds and replaced it with real milk in a bottle. No, in a cup, because I didn't want her to get used to having real milk from a bottle. I didn't want her to associate that. I wanted her to associate it with a cup. And we used the 360 cups, which are from Munchkin. Yeah, Munchkin 360. And then straw cups. We don't use any of the traditional sippy cups that have like the little like top that they can tip, you know what I mean? Just because I've heard a lot of negative things about them, so I didn't want to use them with her. Anyways, I put all her milk, even breast milk, if I was giving her breast milk, in cups now. Or not now, but at 11 and a half, 12 months. And then when 12 months hit, her first birthday, I took out all 3 of the middle of the day feedings. So we had 2 morning feedings, 1 when she wakes up in the morning, 1 when she goes down for her first nap, 1 when she wakes up from her first nap, one when she goes down for her second nap, one when she wakes up from her second nap, and then bedtime. I never wanted to give her a bottle at bedtime, never let her have a bottle in the crib. I don't want her to associate those things. So it was always before bed, before our routine. Like that would be the start of our nighttime routine, or any routine throughout the day would be breastfeeding while she's awake. And then we read, brush our teeth, do that whole thing, then put her down. If you guys would like a video on her schedule and how I found her schedule and how the whole thing, it changed my life and her life and my husband's life. It has been amazing. And I am going to do a newborn must-haves, or newborn to 1 year must-haves video for all of you that are interested in that, and that will be a small portion of that video. Anyways, so after she turned 1, I took the bottle away completely. I was just giving her sippy cups with real milk, and I took out all 3 of those feeds during the middle of the day. And I started with those because they were the easiest to get rid of, because she was distracted during those times. So I would give her a snack instead. I would give her real milk instead. Little things here and there. Sometimes she wasn't even interested in a bottle. Like if I was gone during the day, she didn't want a bottle anyways before she turned 1. My family would try to feed her a bottle of breast milk just to, because I said she needs this milk at this time. And she wouldn't be interested. She wants to play. She wants to do other things. She would get mad to have to stop and drink her bottle. So she never really had that attachment to a bottle, which I'm very thankful for. She also didn't shun them either and just want to breastfeed, which I'm also very thankful for. We had a good balance of both. And I do believe that's because I introduced a bottle to her in the hospital and young, and also because of her lip and tongue tie. And I think it was just easier for me to give her a bottle because of that. Okay, so then I cut those 3 out because then I didn't have to worry about pumping at work and dealing with pumping at all anymore, because I was done pumping. I was so burnt out. I wasn't pumping a lot anymore, so it wasn't even enough, I felt, to feed her. So I was just over it. I figured I would give her real milk and be done with it. So then I started cutting out her first nap feeding. I cut that one out because it just, why have it? And sometimes I wanted to work earlier in the morning and not have to worry about having a bottle for that either. And that was kind of my main motivation for weaning her, was to be done pumping and not have to worry about supplementing anymore. And I was just done. I was just burnt out. Having to be attached to someone all day long pretty much is exhausting. And it's great when they're little, even though it's still exhausting. It's great because you feel like you're leading them in the right direction and you're bonding. So I cut out that morning nap feed, and that took us from 6 to 2, and we were just doing when she woke up in the morning and before bed at night. And I knew that morning feeding was going to be really hard because she was starving when she would wake up in the morning, and she would get like so excited and start like crying when she saw me and like ripping at my shirt. So I didn't think that was even gonna be an option to get rid of for a long time. But it took about 2 weeks or so, and there was one morning she was just not that interested. So I was like, okay, I'm done. And we have swim now in the morning once a week, and that just added to the stress of it because she would have to feed, and that takes a good amount of time, and so on and so on. So I was like, we're just gonna cut it. This is it. This is our time. She already showed me the other day or yesterday that she's not as interested, so I'm gonna take that and run with it. So I did, and there were a few days that were difficult, but overall she did really, really well with the weaning process and not needing to feed and like claw at me or whatever. Like, I just found things to distract her. And she did have her grumpy moments and little tantrums, but I don't feel like it was ever anything that was above and beyond, and anything that was, I I don't know. I just don't feel like it was that hard for us. I feel like she did really, really well. Literally at 1 year old, she never had a bottle again either. She's never acted like she wanted a bottle, asked for a bottle, or anything like that. She loves drinking her milk out of her cups, and she just loves drinking the milk. And I give her milk now just randomly throughout the day. I don't give it to her at naps or bedtime. I just give it to her because she eats so well and snacks so well. I'll just give it to her as her drink to help kind of fill her up. So once we got rid of that morning feed, we've just kept it at our night feed, and it is still going. Oh, by the way, she does not bite me anymore. She stopped that around 11 and a half months. Like, it only lasted a couple weeks, and then she stopped biting me. Otherwise, I would have been done completely. Like, done. We did have a situation a few nights ago where she was just not that interested, and she was crying. She did not want to breastfeed, and it hurt my heart. I really, like, it came kind of out of left field that she was gonna be just done quitting breastfeeding just like that. So I had a hard time with it. I cried that night, and I thought, okay, that was our last time breastfeeding. That was it. But then the next day, she wanted to breastfeed so badly. She breastfed so good. And so it's been, I think we're on night 5 tonight maybe since that happened. And every night has been different. Some nights she breastfeeds really well, some nights she's not as interested, and I feel like over the last few nights it's progressed to being less interested in it. So I think that soon I'm going to just not offer it. So I think over the next few weeks or so, I'm going to start just weaning her off of it completely, and I'm going to redirect her attention to her books, brushing her teeth, stuff like that, stuff that is going to help distract her more and not focus on missing out on breastfeeding. But I really do think that she's almost ready. I think that a lot of babies will kind of tell you when they're ready, but if you're ready before them, that's okay. You can wean them. You can totally do it. Some people say, like, why? If they still want to breastfeed, then keep offering it to them, which is awesome too. I just been 14 and a half months. I feel like that's such a good amount of time. A lot of people go to 2 years old. I don't want to go to 2 years old. I don't have a reason why. I just don't. I feel like we've had our journey. We've shared so much. We've bonded so much. And she got so much good nutrients and nutrition from me, and it's just, I just know our journey is near its end, and I'm okay with that. Okay, so this is obviously a totally different day. I'm not put together or anything. I wanted to jump on here and share with you guys that we did officially quit breastfeeding. I have weaned her completely, and it's really bittersweet. I'm sad about it, but I'm happy about it. It's so many emotions, so many feelings. And yeah, so I filmed the first part of this video to share with you guys our weaning journey, but when I filmed it, I wasn't completely done breastfeeding. So now I am, and it's only been about a week or two since I filmed that portion of it. So at the very end, like I shared previously, we were breastfeeding once, and that was at nighttime before bed. And when she would breastfeed at night, for the most part, it was always distracted. I was like forcing her to feed pretty much. She would be wanting to read a book, point at things. She'd try to put her head up and like, ooh, what's that? You know, like just so distracted. She did not care about the rest of the breastfeeding like that we were doing. It was more for me and our journey that I didn't want to let it go. So needless to say, on August 7th, I breastfed her for the last time. August 8th, I decided that tonight I'm just going to try and not breastfeed her and see if she even cares. And she didn't care a single bit. She has not cared since then. She hasn't tried to breastfeed. She hasn't grabbed at me, asked for it, or anything. So I think we're doing really well. And she seems happy and like she's just growing up. So I think we were just ready to end it. And I am sad about it. I never really had a good cry about it. I cried prematurely before she was done breastfeeding. There was a day a couple weeks ago where she didn't breastfeed. She wasn't interested, and I thought that was going to be our last night. And I cried and cried and cried because she didn't want to. But then she breastfed again for another week or so. So it was kind of premature, so I didn't get to, I don't know, it was like I was prepared for it. So I didn't have those same emotions when we actually quit breastfeeding. And I knew it was coming, so I got the opportunity to, like, you know, prepare myself for that. And I am going out of town, not this weekend, but next weekend for my first time without her. So I kind of wanted to be able to be done with that. That way, when I do go out of town and things come up, it's not that big of a deal. Like, people can put her to bed without me being there and stuff like that. And now Wilson knows our routine and he can put her to bed, or anyone. So me and him can go out if we want to before bedtime. So I'm super excited about that part of it. Of course, it's still sad and hard to me, but it was our time and we had a great journey. We were 2 weeks shy of 15 months, and I'm so proud of the journey that we had and that I made it as long as I did, because we had a hard journey, which I shared with you guys. And I am really proud of it and so thankful for the 14.5 months of bonding time that me and my baby girl got to share together. So if you are a breastfeeding mama, I encourage you to, you know, give it your best and don't take that time for granted. Enjoy every moment and just be in that moment, because it goes so fast. And the thought of never getting to breastfeed her again, like, makes me really sad. Now I'm gonna cry. It makes me really sad because it was like her whole life. That's what we did. That was our thing. And now it's done. Now she's a big girl. So cherish every moment, you guys, because it's amazing. I'm sorry this story was so long. I just kind of wanted to put every little detail in there to show you guys how we started, how we got to where we are now at 14.5 months old. And I hope that this helps you. I hope that if you're going through anything when it comes to breastfeeding, and if you're having a hard journey and you're wanting to give up, don't do it. You can get through it. And if you do have low supply, there are things that you can take. There's cookies you can make. There's teas that I feel did help me. I don't think they're like life-changing, but I do think they help. And just breastfeeding, constantly pumping a lot will really help stimulate and get you that milk flow if you are struggling with that. I encourage you to push through it. Get those tongue ties and lip ties checked out. Another thing about tongue and lip ties is pediatricians, they don't believe that those are issues. They don't think that it can affect that. And I do think that pediatricians, a lot of them out there, kind of push formula on you. And I don't think that that's always necessity. Obviously there are situations where yes, your baby needs formula if you're not producing enough, different things just aren't working out, they have stomach issues, certain things. Yes, feed your baby formula. That is 100% okay. That's why it's there. But if you can breastfeed, do it. Just do it. Give your baby those nutrients. Get things checked out. See a lactation consultant if you're having issues. They're amazing. They're life-changing. They will let you know if your baby has any lip or tongue tie issues. Find mommy groups, support groups, Facebook breastfeeding groups. So many things are so helpful. There's such a big community out there now with the internet and social media that you can find people to talk to. You can find help. It's so important to have that support system, because without it, I would have sank. I would have not been able to push through. And I'm so thankful that I did, because it's been such a wonderful journey for me and for her. And I'm so thankful that I got at least 14 months with my baby of breastfeeding. Whether it was hard or not, we got here. And I just encourage you guys so much to do what feels right to you, to do what's in your heart, and not to get down about it. And if you have any types of postpartum depression or anything like that, talk to someone. Don't hide it. What you're feeling can be completely normal after having a baby. So just always keep that in mind. Don't feel like because you can't breastfeed, you're not a good mom. Things happen, and that's okay. And I just highly encourage you guys to do what is right for you and your baby. And that is what is important. So I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing my breastfeeding journey. And if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what other types of mommy videos you would like to see. And of course, what other videos you want to see that aren't mommy videos. I did have a request for must-have baby items, so I am going to do one of those. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are new here, welcome. And please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! My dog just laid on one of the toys. Once we got that established, that there was an actual issue, ow, shit.